You have tried the diets, maybe more than one. You've done research, you've made changes, you were consistent, and yet you did not see the scale move. And if you are like a lot of women, you heard all about the success stories, you saw the before and after photos, and you kept thinking, why is this working for everyone else but not for me? I want to offer you an answer for what could be going on today. Not a new diet or a new protocol, an actual explanation for what could be happening in a body that is managing chronic illness and chronic stress, and why that might mean that your body plays by completely different rules whenever it comes to weight loss. Because once you understand what could be going on, the shame lifts. And when the shame that you feel lifts, you can start addressing what actually matters to you. So let's get into it.
Welcome to Chronic Illness Moms. If you're more than just a tired mom, I'm talking trying to make it through the day without crashing by noon while raising neurodivergent kids, you're not alone. I'm Ashley, a wife, mom, and certified health coach. I have lived with autoimmune disease and flare-ups that made everyday life feel harder than it should. After years of pushing through and burning out, I learned how much stress, poor sleep, and nervous system overload were driving my symptoms. Everything changed when I started building small, realistic habits that actually supported my body instead of fighting it. In this podcast, you'll learn simple habits that help you to feel better. So pop in your earbuds and take a break from the chaos. It's you time.
I know how discouraging it feels to try really hard to do the research, make changes, and still feel like your body is not responding how you hoped. To look at yourself and think, this is not me. This is not who I am. I am young, and I do not want to spend the rest of my life feeling this way. That feeling that you have is real, and it is not a sign that you are broken or that nothing will ever work again or that you'll never get better. It is a sign that you need an approach that is actually built for the body that you have in the life that you are living. That is what my Feel Better coaching call is for. 1 hour, we find one or two things that are working against your body right now, and we build you one clear next step, something that's doable even on your hardest days. You can book at ashleybraden.com/coaching. That is ashleybraden.com/coaching. Okay, let's talk about what is actually happening with weight whenever you are managing chronic illness. So I have had really multiple seasons where I was having a lot of flares, and I knew that losing some weight would help with some of my symptoms. So I decided I was going to try. I went all in at one point on carnivore diet, which, a lot of people had been sharing and they'd had incredible results. I've actually heard from some of you who've said you've had incredible results with it. I made sure I was drinking enough water, cut out everything that I was supposed to, did all the things. And what I noticed was that the scale barely moved. And I remember feeling really discouraged because of that, because I had put in a lot of work, a lot of discipline. I remember just dreaming about eating a salad and I was so hopeful. I had heard these success stories about inflammation decreasing, and I just didn't see a lot of changes. Now, I now realize that I also habitually have low stomach acid, and my body was probably struggling to digest all of the meat I was eating, but I didn't know that at the time. And, I was seeing all these success stories, and I kept waiting for my body to do what theirs had done, and it wasn't happening. And then came the thought that I think a lot of you have probably had, which is there must be something wrong with me. I feel like we think that a lot as people and moms who are dealing with chronic symptoms. We think, okay, everyone else can do this and I can't. What is the deal? Or why does my body not work the way that it used to, or that I want it to, or that someone else's body works? What I didn't understand now, or what I do understand now that I didn't understand then, was that for me, again, I mentioned the stomach acid thing, but also it was not about discipline or me doing something right or wrong. My body was in a state from chronic stress, from flares, from years of my system running in just like this constant state of low-grade emergency, where the normal rules of how food and metabolism work were not applying to me the same way that they applied to someone else who was in a healthy, well-regulated body. The problem was not my effort. It was really the underlying state that my body was stuck in, and no diet could fix that. And I want to explain to you what I mean by that. So when your body thinks that there is a threat, it is going to hold on. Your body, when it's been under this chronic stress all the time, whether that's the stress of managing your own chronic illness, chronic symptoms, the stress of caring for your kids that have some kind of specific needs, just the constant physical, emotional output of living life. The stress that you are just constantly in. And so therefore your stress response is just constantly activated. It's on alert. And one of the things that your stress response does whenever it's on is it tells your body to hold on to fat. Not because your body is working against you, but it's trying to protect you. And again, we also know that stress raises cortisol levels. And especially if you're dealing with belly fat, that is oftentimes related to or contributed to high cortisol levels. So your body's stress system was designed to work and really overcome short-term threats. And when that system goes on alert, it is going to raise your blood sugar for that quick energy. So you have quick energy to do what you need to do to stay safe. It also is going to slow things down that aren't necessary in that moment whenever there's an emergency. And it's going to tell your body to conserve your resources in case you need them later. So that's going to be including storing fat, because it does not know how long that threat is going to last. And that is just your body being smart. It's the way that God designed it. So when you are in that state of stress all the time, that system keeps running and your body keeps getting the signal to hold on to fat. So then when you go on a diet and your system is already stressed out, you are then trying to convince your body to release stored energy while it is also getting the signal that it does not need to do that. And that's very confusing for your body. On top of that, a lot of times what people do is they heavily restrict calories, which again is putting another stress signal on your body. You're not getting enough calories, you're not getting enough nutrients. That's also going to stress your body out. So the thing that you're trying to do to make it better is actually making it worse. Again, this is not a problem with you or a willpower problem. It's just your body doing its job. Again, it's not what you want it to do, but it is doing what it was designed to do. So the first thing to do is to ask yourself, what is my stress level at? Like, where is my stress level at right now? And then also ask yourself, am I actively giving my body safety signals every day? Am I actively making sure I'm turning off that fight or flight whenever I have a stressful situation? Because addressing the stress signal, even just a little bit and really a little bit on a consistent basis, that is going to be more effective in giving your body those safety signals so that therefore your body knows it's okay to release fat. And again, when we are also adding in the aspect of changing your diet to be really a healthier diet, that is going to help, in addition to minimizing your stress, that's going to help to move the needle. Okay, the other thing I want to talk about is how not getting enough sleep also works against you. So your body has two hormones that regulate hunger and also feeling full. One tells you when you're hungry, the other one tells you when you're full. And when you are not sleeping well, and again, as most of us know, as a mom managing chronic illness, chronic symptoms, taking care of kids, all of the things, that is a struggle. It's a struggle to not sleep well pretty consistently. Those two hormones can get out of balance when you are consistently not sleeping well. And what can happen is that your hunger signal goes up, so you constantly are feeling hungry, and the signal, the hormone that tells you you're satisfied, it can sometimes go down, which means you're hungry all the time, you never feel full. And it's so interesting. So I also sell like personal care products. I've mentioned it before on the podcast, lymphatic cream, magnesium cream, all that stuff. And I was working doing an in-person event in the local community this past weekend. And so leading up to that, I had been staying up late every single night working and just going full tilt all day, not getting enough sleep. And it's so funny because what I noticed is really starting the day of the event and for like 3 days afterward, I was insanely hungry, like extremely unusual amount of appetite. Every time I ate, it felt like, 20 minutes later, I was hungry again. And again, whenever we're in the middle of the situation, sometimes we miss these things. And that's why I say it's so important to really tune into your body because, looking back, I realized, oh my goodness, it's because I was not getting enough sleep. My body, I had basically not slept a full night for probably at least a week and a half, and it was catching up to me. I was noticing again that my hunger cues were just ramped up all the time, and I just was not feeling satisfied. So This is why this happens to us. We don't even realize it's going on. And we sometimes think, oh, like I'm stress eating or I'm emotional eating. And that could be part of it as well. But also look at your sleep. Have you been getting enough sleep? Have you been sleep deprived for a consistent amount of time? That could be playing into it too. So before you start to beat yourself up because you're thinking, oh my goodness, I am failing at another diet, look at the quality and the time, the amount of sleep that you're getting. So again, yes, we need to look at time, but also quality. I've done episodes on this before, how the quality, the deep sleep that you're getting, it matters. Are you waking up multiple times a night? Are you in more of that light phase of sleep? Even being able to improve your sleep quality a little bit can really start to help to bring those hunger signals back into balance. And then it can just make everything else you're trying to do with eating healthier and food a lot easier to maintain. Okay, and then the last point I want to talk about is inflammation. And I know so many of us, me included, we deal with inflammation just chronically. And it can be, it can be really discouraging trying to figure out what does and doesn't trigger inflammation, just dealing with the joint pain and generally just not feeling well. And when your body is just managing ongoing inflammation, which again is very common, it affects how your body processes and stores the food that you eat. So think of it kind of this way. Inflammation is your body's repair crew. So when the repair crew is running constantly, because you're constantly inflamed, it is using a lot of resources for your body's resources, and it is keeping certain systems in alert mode. And then it's changing how effectively your body can do other things, which one of those things would be regulating your weight. So this is why the same diet might work for your sister or your friend, somebody who maybe isn't managing ongoing chronic inflammation. But when you try it, it does not produce the same results for you. They are not starting from the same place as you. Inflammation is fed by the same things that we've been talking about all month. So chronic stress, poor sleep, your body stuck in alarm mode, they're all connected. We also know food can play a role in that as well. Emotions can play a role in that. So instead of asking, what diet do I need to try now? Ask yourself, what could be feeding the inflammation that I feel? Is it a specific category of foods? I know gluten is one for me. I can't have gluten. I can have a small amount here and there, but it is going to make me inflamed. If I have too much sugar, it's going to do the same thing. These are just two things that I habitually try to avoid. Every now and then I have them as a fun treat, but I don't have them on a consistent basis. Stress that is not being addressed. That is obviously going to lead to inflammation too. Sleep. You're not getting good quality sleep. Inputs that are spiking your system all the time rather than calming it. Removing even one of those inputs or those triggers can be a really, really effective way at helping you to lower the inflammation that you're experiencing and then lose that weight that you are wanting to lose. Okay, so if you've been trying to lose weight and you feel like nothing is working, it is oftentimes not your diet. It could be. Obviously, you always have to look at your diet as well. I know for me, losing weight, a big part of that has been changing my diet, but it's not always your diet. So when your body is managing chronic stress, it's going to hold on to fat while it's in that survival mode. And when you're not sleeping, we know that your hunger signals are going to work against you, not because of willpower or there's some kind of fault or failure with you, but just because that's how hormones work. And when you are also dealing with chronic ongoing inflammation, that makes everything so much more difficult for your body to process. And it can make it a different experience for you when you're doing one diet and a friend or maybe your spouse is doing it along with you and you see them getting all these amazing results and you're getting none. That can also be a factor in it. So I just want to encourage you right now and say, you are not failing at this. You're not failing at the thing that you're trying. Your body is playing by a different set of rules. You're in a different state with your body. And, there is no like one size fixes all diet. That is just not how it works. Each of our bodies, they are unique. And what moves the needle for you might be some different compared to what does for me. And really addressing what is going on underneath: stress, sleep, inflammation, all of those things, focusing on one input or one habit at a time. That can help you to be able to do this in a way that feels manageable and really feasible for you to keep up with, even on the days whenever you just don't feel well. So instead of adjusting or like trying to completely overhaul your diet this week, what if you identify one thing that might be feeding your stress signal, or one thing that might be disrupting your sleep or keeping your system in that chronic inflammation state? So not trying to fix all of these at once, but just looking at the one that feels probably the most likely to be impacting your life right now, and then naming one thing. What is the one thing that could be really contributing to this, and what could I do to shift that? And if you want someone to sit with you and help you figure all of this out, like what is the thing and what does it look like for me to start to make really positive progress on this, then yeah, come find me. We can talk at ashleybraden.com/coaching, and we can talk in a Feel Better coaching call and help you to identify what that is. All right, friends, I just want to say thank you so much for spending the month of July with me. I feel like we've covered a lot this month. We've talked about grief and your identity. We've talked about discovering that really deep why for helping you to feel better and live a healthier lifestyle. We have talked about movement and that push crash cycle, just so many great things. And I really hope that you are walking away with not necessarily like a longer list of all the things you should be doing, but instead a better understanding of your own body and a little bit more compassion for yourself throughout this process. All right, friend, that is all for this episode. I would love for you to come over to the free Facebook community and tell us what episode from this month really hit home, like the hardest for you. I would love to know what it is that resonated with you the most. I will have the link down in the show notes, and I'll see you back next time.
Hey friend, I hope you found today's episode helpful. If you did, would you take a minute to share it with another mom who's struggling with chronic symptoms? And leave a review on Apple Podcasts. It means the world to me to know this podcast is making a difference for you. All right, it's time for me to go tackle those snack requests, and remember that a short walk, even if the kids turn it into a race, still counts as self-care. Keep chasing those little wins. Even when it feels messy, you're making progress. The information shared in this podcast is for educational and informational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always consult your healthcare provider before making any changes to your health routine. I'm not a doctor, and this podcast is not intended to treat or diagnose any condition. You're the expert on your body. Listen to it and reach out to a trusted provider for support.